This team, this team. How do we continue to find ways to be like this? You know, it'd be nice. It'd be real nice if we can just have, a week without some sort of drama. Just. Oh. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's absolutely perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to do. Alright, just lucky I didn't lose that part. Oh boy, how do we continue to do this? How do we continue to... That is really loud, but it's like needed because it's incredibly hot in here. Like I could have sworn that was at its lowest. Whatever. Either way, we gotta talk. I was hoping to enjoy my Monday, but the Ravens continue to do what they do. So here we are, of course. How do they keep doing this? How do they keep doing this? Excuse me, guys, as I set everything up as we begin the conversation here. I think we should be good. So I guess let me see. Wait. Do you have? Yeah. That's all good. That's all good. Oh, wait. Let's take that. And then we switch it to this. There we go. There we go. Excuse me. There we go. There we go. That's what you want to do. Uh-huh. Okay. I think we are somewhat good to go. God. Guys. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into this. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, happy Monday. Victory Monday, because we beat the Giants yesterday. Great to see the team get a dominant win. One of those weeks where the Ravens did not stress us. They were expected to get the job done, handle business, and destroy that football team in the Giants, and they did exactly that. Great day all around for them. And now we're on a short week where we had to immediately turn our attention the moment that game ended. You got to turn your attention to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously because the Steelers are coming to town on Saturday, and it will be for the division. If the Steelers win that game, they clinch the AFC North, and that's all she wrote. We'll just prepare to be on the road all postseason. If the Ravens win that game, actually, this is a lot of things that needs to be said here because it's multiple aspects that come into this. So yeah, for the Steelers, if the Steelers win that game, they win the AFC North. Simple as that. At this point, they would have 2.5 games ahead of us. So with two games to go after this matchup and having a 2.5 game lead, we would not be able to catch up. The Steelers would win the AFC North, and that 3 seed is as good as theirs. So that pretty much puts that. That pretty much puts that. Great, now I gotta go do this. Yeah, we'll keep this there. That pretty much puts that in perspective. However, for the Ravens, it's a bit different, and I'm trying to see. I want to confirm what I saw yesterday, just to make sure that. Sorry, I'm looking to confirm. Wow, I gotta open this up twice, huh? I gotta open this up twice. I'm looking to confirm who was it that said it. Chances are it was probably Jameson. Let me see. Yep. Okay. That's all I needed to see. Okay. Back on track. So, before we get into that, yeah, we got a marquee matchup that decides the division. If Pittsburgh wins on Saturday, they clinch the AFC North because they'll have a 2.5 game lead against us with 2 games to go. Nothing we can do. Obviously, at that point, they win the division no matter what because they'll have the tiebreaker over us. And, the 3 seed will be theirs, whereas we'll have to be at the highest, the 5th seed, which means we'll be heading to Houston for the wild card round. If Baltimore wins, multiple things do change here. Number one, if Baltimore wins, they clinch a playoff spot. I had to check this to confirm because we talked about this yesterday about what the Ravens needed to do to make the playoffs. I said 10 wins would get them in. I wanted to confirm that, and I did check it. The Ravens can clinch a playoff berth with a win over the Steelers on Saturday or losses by the Colts and the Dolphins on Sunday. Colts play the Titans and the Dolphins play the Niners. Both of them are at home for that. So if the Colts and Dolphins lose their game, we're in the playoffs. If we beat the Steelers on Saturday, we're in the playoffs. So number one, Ravens beat the Steelers on Saturday. They clinch a playoff berth. They will be in the postseason. Simple as that. Number two, winning against the Pittsburgh Steelers now ties the first place in the division with Pittsburgh. They'll be 10-5. We'll be 10-5. With 2 games to go, we would still need a little bit of help. We do not control our destiny in terms of the division. Baltimore would have to win their final 2 games against Houston and Cleveland, and Pittsburgh would have to stumble once against Kansas City or Cincinnati. If Baltimore wins on Saturday, they got to win the final 2 games and hope Pittsburgh loses one of those final 2 games in order to win the AFC North. So we do not control our destiny in terms of the division. At the end of the day, Baltimore can win on Saturday, Pittsburgh can win the final 2 games, they'll take the division. So it's kind of mixed up like that. But at the end of the day, the main focus, the main priority is winning on Saturday to keep our hopes alive. But more importantly, winning on Saturday to clinch a playoff berth. So Baltimore can clinch, they can punch their ticket into the postseason if they beat the Steelers on Saturday. That's the number one thing that needed to be focused on. If they beat the Steelers on Saturday, they're in the playoffs. I just wanted to get that out because we talked about this last night, and I wanted to make sure that I specify because I was talking with y'all last night, and I wanted to make sure we knew what the playoff scenarios were for the Ravens entering Week 16 because I said 10 wins gets them in the postseason because they have the tiebreakers over the Chargers, over the Broncos, over the Bengals, and I'm pretty sure they have a better conference record than the Colts, so they have tiebreakers over everybody. All they needed to do was get to 10 wins. That's all they needed to do. So now that we see that's the case, I wanted to confirm it. It is the case. If Baltimore beats the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday, they do clinch the AFC North. Not clinch the AFC North, excuse me. They do clinch a playoff berth and keep their chances alive to potentially win the AFC North over the Steelers. They'll still need Pittsburgh to lose one of their final 2 games, and Baltimore would have to beat the Texans and the Browns to take the AFC North away from them. But they do clinch a playoff berth if they beat the Steelers. If they don't beat the Steelers, they will need to hope that the Colts and Dolphins both lose their games so that Baltimore will automatically clinch a playoff spot either way. Again, Baltimore just needs 10 wins to get into the postseason this year. They have tiebreakers over everybody that they need to have tiebreakers over. They'll be in the postseason as long as they win one more game. Win one of your final 3 games, and you punch your ticket into the postseason. You win all 3 of these final games, and Pittsburgh loses 2 of their final 3, you win the AFC North. So that's just how it is. We know the criteria. Just wanted to put that out here. Now let's get on to what we need to talk about. So we know we got to beat the Steelers to make the playoffs on Saturday. Coming off of a win against the Giants on a short week in a marquee matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers for the division, what happens? We get news about Deontay Johnson. Oh yeah, quick side note. This is going to be the first time Lamar Jackson has faced off against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home since 2020. The last time he faced off against Pittsburgh at home was, in 2020 when Pittsburgh was, they was 6-0. We were 5-1. And it was that 28-24 debacle. They made the stop on 4th down. I think they forced Lamar to fumble the ball too on 4th down. And we had that last chance. It came down to the final play. Lamar threw it up to Willie Snead. I still said he got fouled on that one. That should have been a personal foul. The way the Steelers just crunched Willie Snead in the air when he tried to go for that catch. I said a personal foul should have been called, but whatever. They make that final stop. Pittsburgh gets the win. They go to 7-0, and we go to 5-2. So that's the last time Lamar Jackson has taken on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Baltimore. Obviously, we've had games against the Steelers in Baltimore, but in 2021, he was injured, didn't play in Baltimore. 2022, he was injured again, did not play. 2023, we had the number 1 seed, did not play. And then again in 2019, we had the number 1 seed, did not play the Steelers at home. So, yeah, it's either been Lamar's been out for the game due to injuries, or he's been out for the game because we clinched the number 1 seed. That's kind of how it's been. So it's weird how Lamar has not faced off against the Steelers at home. The last 2 times he's faced off against the Steelers have been in Pittsburgh. Matter of fact, the last 3 times he's faced off against Pittsburgh have all been in Pittsburgh. 2021, 2022, 2023 is what, man, he's really, actually no, I don't think in 2022 he did not face off. We didn't face off against, yeah, he was out by then. It's so weird how Lamar has not faced off against the Steelers as much, and it's weird how he hasn't faced off against them at home since 2020. So this will be the first time he's taken on the Steelers in Baltimore since 2020. Interesting. But also this would be, yeah, you're right about that, Joshua. This will be the first time ever that he's taken on the Steelers twice, because 2018 obviously he never played them. He was the backup when we played them. Flacco was the starter. 2019 he took them on in Pittsburgh week 5, and then like I said, they rested the final week. They rested their starters. He didn't play. 2020, he faced off against them in Baltimore, and then the game in Pittsburgh, that's when he got COVID, and RG3 had to play. That was that Thanksgiving special. They got pushed all the way to the following Wednesday. That was a weird game. 2021, he played them in Pittsburgh, got injured, didn't play them in Baltimore. 2022, played them in Pittsburgh, got injured, didn't play. Actually, I don't think he played them in Pittsburgh. I don't think he played them in Pittsburgh or Baltimore, because I think we had them late season. So, or maybe he did actually play them in Pittsburgh, and I don't remember that matchup. Either way, no, I don't think he played in Pittsburgh, because I believe we won in Pittsburgh in 2022 with whoever was the quarterback. Maybe Huntley, maybe Johnson. I don't remember. But yeah, 2023, played them in Pittsburgh, did not play them in Baltimore. So this is the first time he's going to ever play the Steelers twice in a season. Hopefully we don't get swept, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, just have to get that one out the way. Back to the main topic of discussion. Marquee matchup, Saturday, short week for Baltimore, coming off of a win on Sunday. They play on a Saturday afternoon against the Pittsburgh Steelers for what will be potentially for the division. And while you get something like that, understanding the importance of this matchup and understanding that you need everybody and all this other stuff, we got to get prepared, we got to be mentally focused. The first thing the Ravens do, fresh off of a Giants win on Monday, what do we get? An update about Deontay Johnson. So, as we all know, Deontay Johnson was suspended for 1 game due to him refusing to go into the game during garbage time against the Philadelphia Eagles. They suspended him. We came here on live stream and talked all about the Deontay Johnson situation. But we sat back and said, hey, he's going to get the suspension. The Ravens are going on the bye week, so it won't matter. Coming off of the bye week, he'll be suspended for the Giants game, so he won't participate. But coming back to the Steelers game, we thought, hey, all right, he's coming. We'll see what he does against the Steelers. He'll come back, try to integrate. Maybe they'll try to get him into the game and see how that goes. Well, he doesn't participate in any activities against the Giants to be expected because he was suspended. And then he comes back this week, right? Well, fresh Monday afternoon, the Ravens gives us an update about Deontay Johnson. In a statement from them specifically, we have mutually agreed with Deontay Johnson to excuse him from team activities this week. He is not suspended, ladies and gentlemen. He is not suspended for another game. They just willingly said he's just not going to participate in activities this week. He's not going to practice. He's not going to play in the game. We're just not going to have him there. Okay, that's weird, but I guess that's what we're doing today. When John Harbaugh was asked about it, he had a interesting way in which he discussed it. They talked to him about it, and John Harbaugh said there are reasons for doing things, front office type reasons. I want to think about the Pittsburgh about Pittsburgh and the guys who are going to be here getting ready to play Pittsburgh. That's my focus 100%. Actually, I think I could probably get another quote for that because he said something a little bit more in regards to that. So let me see. I want to see if I can get a different quote about Harbaugh. Because I saw it earlier today. Man, I should have really liked it. Okay. Damn, I really have to go through everybody. And Harbaugh had a specific statement. All right. So they asked him about it, and initially he sat back and said, the focus is on Pittsburgh. He's been excused. He's not going to be here, but the focus is on Pittsburgh. When they asked him if he foresees Deontay Johnson returning next week, because he talked about it, Deontay Johnson has been excused this week. He will not participate. Our focus is on the Pittsburgh Steelers. When the media further asked John Harbaugh if he foresees Deontay Johnson returning next week, his response is, what I foresee, really to be honest with you, and all I'm really thinking about right now is Pittsburgh. So he won't be here this week, and next week will take care of itself. And then they asked him, why not just release him? I'm really interested in the Pittsburgh Steelers, to be honest with you. I know you guys want to hear the story. There are a lot of moving parts. There are reasons for doing things that are front office type reasons. Do I want to sit here and get into all the different calculations that Eric DeCosta makes? I really don't. I want to think about Pittsburgh and the guys who are going to be here playing against Pittsburgh. That's my focus 100%. So Harbaugh giving his classic answer, which again, I don't really have a problem with. You're not going to expect him to just air out all the issues right now. It's not going to be the case. But that's pretty much the quote. The Ravens have decided to mutually have Deontay Johnson not report in and not participate in activities this week because that's just how it is. And I love how they said they mutually decided. You know damn well they did not mutually decide it. What they did is you really think that the way I love the PR of statements like this, the way they just try to, the way they try to just like brushing it up and make it seem like it's all nice and positive and nothing's really wrong, just to make it seem like this organization is not dealing with some sort of minor crisis here is hilarious. Because the way they brushing that up, we mutually decided that he shouldn't come in. Really, you mutually decided that. So I'm supposed to believe that this dude walked in. Deontay Johnson walked in. Come in, Deontay. Listen, the whole situation that happened with the Eagles game, that's something that we can't have happen. And you understand as a professional yourself. We can't let that happen. It's something that doesn't look good on us and something that we don't want to see from you because we love all our players and we care about all our players. And, again, it was a brief moment of anger and maybe you felt some type of way. And we understand where you're coming from. We know you want to play. But that type of behavior is something we can't accept. So, yeah, we gave you the suspension. But, the team's coming off of a great win against the Giants. We feel like we've got some good momentum. We don't really want to ruin the momentum and where things are right now for the team. So we feel it's best for you to just sit out this extra week. And then we'll kind of discuss these things next week and see where we are. And Deontay's like, you know what? You're right. I see the way the team's gelling right now, and I don't want to take away from it. You're right. I absolutely should not be near the team this week. I 100% agree. Let's mutually come together and decide that we should just have me sit out this week. I think, despite me fighting for a contract and trying to prove myself, I think the right decision for me is to agree with this and let us mutually not be with each other this week. And I'll come back next week and we'll see how it is. You really think that's the conversation that happened? No. I can tell you right now, the conversation that happened is, Deontay, you messed up, right? You don't challenge our head coach's authority. When they tell you to get in the game, you get in the game. I don't know who you think you are. I know you need your contract and stuff, but you're not going to come here and disrespect us. So guess what? We suspended you. Matter of fact, we are probably done with you. We're done with you. You're frustrated, but we're not going to release you because we know if we release you, you're just going to run off to Kansas City. We have no interest in that. We don't want to see you run off to a contender, and we don't want to lose our pick. So guess what, Deontay? Go away from the team. We're not going to suspend you, not going to make you look bad. Just go away for a while. Just do that. You're probably not going to play for the rest of the season, by the way. I hope you realize that. You either go away, don't cause a scene, or you can cause a scene and hurt your chances with a team that you're going to sign with in the offseason. Your choice. And he's like, I ain't got a choice. I mean, I don't want to ruin my chances with the team next year, and I'm not coming back to this team after everything that happened. So you know what? Screw it. You don't want me here? I'm gone. That's probably what happened for the most part. That's definitely what happened. There ain't no mutually part ways. They told Deontay to his face, you're not playing. You're not playing, you're not coming back. So you can either handle this like a professional and stay away from the team to help yourself out because you're trying to get a contract next year, or you can act like a baby, pout, make this an issue, and hurt your chances to sign with a team next year. It's your choice. His agent probably talked to him and said, yeah, let's just go away, man. This whole thing has been a mess. Let's just go away. Let's not think about it. If they don't want us to play the rest of the year, we don't have to play the rest of the year. We'll just get into the offseason. We'll figure out this contract thing. Telling me we mutually parted ways. Y'all did not mutually decide to have him not participate. Deontay Johnson didn't agree to this. You told him. Acting like we mutually came to this decision together. Anyway, Deontay is he's probably done. I'm gonna be honest. His time as a Baltimore Raven is done. Now, will he be released? Hell no. Like I said, they are not about to let this man walk out the door and go join up with a contender. Baltimore knows, Eric DeCosta specifically knows, if he lets this man walk out the door, he knows for a fact that Kansas City or Pittsburgh is going to go pick him up. And they're not about to let this man walk out the door and go play for a contender that can harm them moving forward. So they're not going to let that happen. Deontay Johnson can pout all he wants. They're not letting him go. He will not be released for the Ravens. I'm from the Ravens for the rest of the season. They're not going to let him walk out the door and go join Kansas City or Pittsburgh. They're not stupid. If they release him right now, he'll be on a flight to Pittsburgh or on a flight to Kansas City within the next 2 days. They're not letting that happen. You don't release talent of his caliber to go let him join up with a playoff team this late, knowing you could face off against that playoff team, and him already having a grudge against the Ravens. You don't think he's going to want to ball out against them if they meet up in the playoffs? Baltimore's not going to let that happen. So what they're going to do is they're going to retain him. They're going to retain him for the rest of the season, and then come off season, he's a free agent, and if he goes sign somewhere, the Ravens can get a comp pick. So that's what's going to happen. They're not letting him go. They're not going to cut him. They're not even going to do that. They're not even going to do that. It's not even going to be a case. Trying to study for a final exam. Second, what happened to Johnson this game? He didn't play. He did not play. Deontay Johnson was suspended, so he didn't play against the Giants. But that's not the story we're talking about today. Obviously, everybody knew Deontay Johnson was suspended, so he didn't play against the Giants. The story today is that the Ravens released a statement saying that they've mutually decided to have Deontay Johnson. They decided to have Deontay Johnson stay away from the team this week. The specific statement, I have it here. The specific statement they have in regards to Deontay Johnson is, we have mutually agreed with Deontay Johnson to excuse him from team activities this week. So he's not going to practice this week, and he's not going to play against the Steelers. It's at this point, Deontay Johnson's time as a Raven is over in terms of playing, but he's going to still be on the roster. They basically told him to go away. They told him to go away. You're not going to ruin the connection and chemistry that they're trying to build as they make this playoff push. They told him to go away. He's probably not going to get back in the game for the rest of the season. I would be shocked if they let him back on the football field. He's probably done as a Raven. They're just not going to release him. So they excused him for this week. So that's just how it is for the most part. He's not going to participate in any activity. So he's not going to practice. He's not going to prepare for the game. And he's not playing against Pittsburgh. And next week will probably be the same thing too. I will be shocked if he gets back on this football field. I will be shocked if they let him play. I don't see that happening. I legitimately do not see that happening. So that's just how it is. But yeah, that's pretty much the story. It's so conflicting that this is the case. For the Ravens, it's just been so much chaoticness that's happened all season. You had the situation with Marcus Williams. You had the situation with Eddie Jackson. You have a quiet situation with Ben Cleveland, and we still don't know what that is about. And now you have this situation with Deontay Johnson. It's been so weird how you've had all these players just come out and speak out, and now they're just not getting any playing time. and you feel like all of this has been directed towards Harbaugh, and you know how that is. If you cross Harbaugh, it's over. If you cross Harbaugh, it's over. The minute you call out that coach, the way the Ravens are running nowadays feels more like a dictatorship. If you cross Harbaugh, that's it for you. You're done. You cross Harbaugh, you are absolutely done. That's it for you. No question. No question. No question at all. If you cross Harbaugh, you're done. If you've been on this team for a while, by all means, you'll just be put in the doghouse. If you're someone like Deontay Johnson that just got here, buddy, that's it for you. You're just not going to play. You just not going to play. You get put in the doghouse, and that's just it for you. You just not going to play. So it's just one of those things, man. And it's been so weird. The Marcus Williams situation seems like he crossed Harbaugh. Honestly, I think every single one of these situations has to be in regards to something they said to John Harbaugh. I think Marcus Williams, he said something to John Harbaugh or something to Zachary Orr about what he's seeing out there. Maybe he got called out for his play and he retaliated, and because of that, he got put in the doghouse, which is why he's not playing. With the Eddie Jackson aspect, he probably called out Harbaugh or Zachary Orr called out the defensive coverages for why the team's been poorly, where people started pointing the finger at him for being awful, and he probably lashed out, and they got him out of here too. The Ben Cleveland situation, I don't even know what he could have possibly said, because initially Ben Cleveland was a John Harbaugh guy. He wanted Cleveland. Cleveland had to have said something to John Harbaugh that Harbaugh didn't like, and it's a big part of why he's not getting playing time, despite what Falele's doing out there. And by the way, the film sees him again. He's just an issue. Him and McCarry is just an issue. You see at the end of garbage time, you see what Cleveland and Voorhees can do. Granted, it's garbage time, but they at least look decent. I don't see why we don't even give them a try. We were willing to rotate tackles last year, but this year we're not rotating anything in the offensive line, despite the fact that the guard play has been inconsistent and poor at times and could use some help. Let's not rotate our guards. He must have said something. He must have said something. He must have said something. And I don't know what he said to him, but he's not getting on the field to play as a starter because of what he said to Harbaugh. And then last but not least with Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson had to have said something to John Harbaugh for this to be the case. I don't think it's just a matter of him just saying, no, I'm not getting in the game, and just him choosing not to. He had to say something specifically that crossed the line, and since he crossed that line, he crossed himself off of this team. The problem is he's not going to be off the team because they're not going to let him go to a contender, but he's not going to see the field. And he's going to continue to get frustrated. He might as well just stay home. He might as well just stay home. No point in coming into the facility. No point in getting involved in the meetings. You should just stay home because they're not going to play you. You're probably not even going to get much practice time, even if he comes back next week. There's 2 games left in the season. There's 2 games left. After the Steelers game, you've got the Texans game, and you've got the Browns game. At what point can he even try to integrate to this offense? It's over. We don't even need to do this anymore. Deontay Johnson's time as a Raven is over. You're telling me they're going to try to integrate him as a wide receiver 3 with 2 games left to go? It's over. That's stupid. That's dumb. It's not going to happen. It is over for Deontay Johnson. It is over for Deontay Johnson. Done. Just done. Just done. Do you think Devontae Campbell and Deontay Johnson are done in the NFL? Those are 2 different situations. With Deontay Johnson, him refusing to go in the game in garbage time and arguing about that, that is one of the things that makes him look bad, but it's not going to be enough to stop him from getting a contract. Whereas Devontae, his situation, he refused to get in the game in the 3rd quarter when the game was still very much on the line. Like, one decided to refuse to go in. They're both bad, by the way. Both situations are bad. But one decided to not get in garbage time because he hasn't been playing all season. They haven't given him the opportunity to get in the football game for much of this. He's trying to prove himself on a contract year. They've given him no opportunity to go in. And then finally, when they give him the opportunity to go in, it's during garbage time where he can't even make an impact. So his situation is very common. We see that at times. So he'll be fine. Somebody will go pick up Deontay Johnson. If he was to be released right now, a team will sign Deontay Johnson. So I don't think he's done in the NFL. But Devontae Campbell, Buddy's situation is entirely different. It wasn't a situation where he wasn't getting playing time and they just told him to come in garbage time. Buddy was starting because Greenlaw suffered that injury in the Super Bowl. He had been out all this time. Devontae Campbell was starting in place of Greenlaw. But we know Greenlaw is one of the best in the game, so once he would get back, it would automatically be his spot. But Campbell took offense to that because he felt he was playing good all season and deserved to be a starter. To just have Greenlaw come in and take his spot immediately with the way he's played all season, he took offense to that. So not only did he refuse to go in the game, he left. So he refused to go in the game because the starter that initially was there, that was out to injury due to the injury stuff in the Super Bowl, he comes back, gets a starter spot. Campbell took offense to that, refused to go in the game, and then walked off the field in the third quarter and essentially quit on his teammates with their season on the line. That's an entirely different season. That's an entirely different situation than Deontay Johnson. Johnson didn't want to go in during garbage time and hadn't been utilized the entire time. Campbell was playing all season, and as soon as Greenlaw comes back, he takes his that's his rightful spot as a starter. Campbell took offense, quit on the team, and then walked off the field when they're fighting for their season. That's an entirely different situation. So for Campbell, I don't know if he could play again another game in the NFL. Maybe some other team will take a chance on him in the offseason, but his time as a San Francisco 49er is done. They're just going to keep him here for the rest of the season. Offseason, he's out. So that's pretty much how it is. But Deontay, nah, it's different. It's different. So he'll be able to play again. If he was to be taken off this team right now, a contender would sign him. If Baltimore cuts him, Kansas City or Pittsburgh would sign him off the streets right now. So it's an entirely different situation with Campbell. Campbell, he might have lost respect from other NFL players, from NFL locker rooms, from NFL coaches. Right now, I don't know if Campbell is going to be accepted in any other team because he showcases that he's willing to quit on the team if he loses his spot. He loses his spot in the starting lineup to somebody that initially had that spot. And instead of just being like, okay, it's fine, we can still play, he pouts, gets mad, refuses to play, and then walks off when the team's fighting for their season. Nah. There's a code that you got to follow. That's 1,000 times worse than what Deontay Johnson did. And because of that, I don't know if Campbell's going to be able to play. I don't know if any locker room's going to want a guy like that. That's something that seriously hurts you. So, yeah. But that's pretty much the Deontay Johnson situation. He did not play against the Giants, and he will not be playing against the Steelers. We'll probably get more conversation about it next week, and you know on Monday, after the Steelers game, they will ask Harbaugh, is Deontay Johnson going to participate this week? And the Ravens will probably have to put out another statement. Me, personally, I don't know why they're trying to beat around the bush. There's 2 games left after this. You're not going to integrate Deontay Johnson into the offense in 2 games. What are you talking about? At this point, here's the case. You already know your wide receiver 1 and your wide receiver 2. You got Bateman, you got Flowers. Those are your 2 guys. That wide receiver 3 spot was where Deontay Johnson was supposed to play. He's not going to be there anymore. So you've got 3 options. Nelson Aguilar, Tylan Wallace, and somebody you just got involved in for the first time this season, and Devontae Walker. You're going to have to share the snaps between those 3 guys. My personal choice would be to share the snaps. I think between the 3, Tylan Wallace deserves the most snaps because he's been productive when he's been on the field. So I say Tylan Wallace should be the wide receiver 3, give him more snaps. And I would love to see Devontae Walker involved more because, you know, you get him involved in this game against the Giants and his first catch of his career is a touchdown. Maybe you should try to get him involved even more. But I think Devontae Walker, like I said, is going to be a year 2 type of thing as opposed to year 1. Next year, the offseason, they're going to try to fully integrate him into the offense, and then that's going to be a thing. They'll spend mini camp, and then they'll spend training camp trying to integrate him. Because I think the future right now, if this can work out, this changes the entire scope of how Baltimore is viewed. If Devontae Walker can work out, then you'll have your top 3 receivers. This is crazy to see. And I feel like I may have to talk about this again this week, but we do have to give appreciation to what we're seeing from Rashad Bateman and how this has been going this year. Because now you've got 2 guys that you did draft that are playing great football as receivers. If you are able to integrate Devontae Walker next season, then your primary 3 receivers will be Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Devontae Walker. All 3 of them will be draft picks that you drafted. And if all of them can be productive at the wide receiver position, do you know what that could do for Baltimore's reputation? We've talked about the Ravens not being able to draft and develop wide receivers. And yet, you can make an argument that their last 3 main receivers they drafted would all be productive. You've got your last 2 first-round picks that were productive. Matter of fact, the last 3 first-round picks were productive because Hollywood was still productive. Hollywood Brown was productive when he's here. Then you get Bateman. He dealt with his injuries. This is his first season fully healthy. He got to be fully healthy, got to participate in training camp fully healthy, and was working on the chemistry with Lamar. Now we're seeing that pay off. Zay Flowers, from the second he stepped foot here, he was that guy. So Zay Flowers, first-round draft pick, working out. Rashad Bateman finally showing his potential and talent abilities now that he's healthy as a first-round draft pick. And then you get Devontae Walker involved, and he starts showcasing some of those talents as a deep threat, and he ends up becoming productive. Next year won't be this year, but next year, then now you're going to have 3 receivers that you drafted that all worked out. And now we can start looking at this era differently in terms of how the Ravens draft receivers. Now we start to see they do have the capability of doing it. So I think the plan next year is to get Walker more involved in year 2. But in terms of this year, I say lean on Tylan Wallace to be your number 3 receiver. Tylan Wallace, in the few times he's been out there, has been highly productive. He's productive, he's consistent, he can catch the football, he doesn't really drop it, and every time he gets the ball, he's able to do something with it. So I say that should be your wide receiver 3 over Aguilar. Aguilar can be wide receiver 4, Walker can be wide receiver 5. If you want to occasionally try to get him in for a rep or 2 or a potential play where he's a deep threat, by all means do so. But I think Tylan Wallace, in the small production he has showcased what he's capable of, and he is a reliable weapon as a wide receiver 3 over Nelson Aguilar. That's just what I would do. And I know, I'm pretty sure I saw it here, and I will address it when I see it in the comments, because I saw it here. I know that you guys brought his name up. I know that you brought his name up. But yeah, Walker, I like seeing him get involved, and the fact that they got him involved and he got a rep and got a touchdown, that might mean something in the upcoming games. That might mean something for the Ravens. That wide receiver 3 spot is going to be shared snaps between Wallace, Aguilar, and potentially Walker getting more snaps now because he showcased, hey man, he's got potential. So we'll see how that goes for the most part. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Deontay Johnson conversation. His time as a Raven is done, but he will still be on the roster. They'll have to address it. Me personally, I just wish they would come out and say he's done for the rest of the season. There's 2 games left. Do they really want to have to drag this out? You're not going to play him. And if you do play him, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be awkward with 2 games to go. You expect us to believe you're going to integrate Deontay Johnson into this offense to be a legit weapon for Lamar Jackson in the postseason with 2 games left? No. Just work with what you have now. Just work with what you have now. There's no point at this point. It seems like Deontay Johnson's done with you guys. You're done with him. What they could have done is either suspend him for the rest of the season or come out this week and say he's just no longer going to be involved. Like just end it. Push the extension time. Excusing him for this week isn't gonna fix anything because you're gonna have to talk about it next week. Harbaugh's gonna have to sit there at the podium next Monday and address if Deontay Johnson's gonna be able to participate. And even if he does, they probably still won't play him. Why are they dragging this out? I don't know. Why are they dragging this out? They could have just ended this, but they want to drag it out. It is what it is. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much all from me. I just wanted to speak on the Deontay Johnson situation. Obviously, we will be talking about the Steelers this week. This is not the preview. I wasn't even supposed to be here on the Monday, but because they decided to do what they did with Deontay Johnson and handle it however they handled it, I now got to sit here and talk about this. So that is my take. I am getting ready to head out, but before I do head out, I want to take a look at some of your questions because I did see one thing here that I might want to address. Lamar is the MVP, and it's not even debatable. I don't care about the MVP talks. Josh Allen's in the lead. He's going to win MVP unless he stumbles against the Patriots and Jets. It's over. He's going to win the award. We don't need to keep talking about this. Our goal is a Super Bowl, even though most of us don't believe it's going to happen. Our goal is a Super Bowl. The team's goal is a Super Bowl. Lamar's got 2 of them things. Winning a 3rd MVP don't change anything. Winning a ring puts him potentially top 10 all time. So we're focused on the ring and not the MVP. What's going on, man? Appreciate you stopping by. We ain't even need Johnson. Bate and Zay are a good duo. We finally have a decent wide receiver duo. It's not about needing Deontay Johnson because I don't think you need him. If you look at the offense, you've got 2 reliable guys in Bateman and Zay Flowers. But then you look at the other 2 primary weapons, it's Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. So you got 2 reliable receivers, 2 reliable tight ends. You still got Derrick Henry. They got plenty of weapons on the offense. The reason that they wanted that wide receiver 3 is for depth. It's a long season. You've seen it. Bateman's been nicked up. Flowers has had an injury scare. You wanted that 3rd receiver specifically because you wanted to make sure you took the pressure off those 2 guys because Bateman and Flowers are going to be your guys in the playoffs. That 3rd receiver was supposed to come in and take off some of the pressure of a long season so that they can be able to stay healthy. That was the point. But as we approach playoff time, hopefully these guys stay healthy. 3 more games to go. They got to stay healthy. And if they do so, you're not worried about a wide receiver 3 because you're going to have Andrews getting the ball. You're going to have Likely getting the ball. You're going to have Bateman getting the ball. You're going to have Flowers getting the ball. So anybody else doesn't matter in that situation. It's going to be those 4 guys. But you wanted that third receiver to take the pressure off of those 2 receivers so that they can be healthy and be there and be available and be ready to go come playoff time. He must be a double agent for the Steelers, just like Villanueva. That's hilarious. Monday Night Bluff. I don't care about Monday Night Football. We knew the games were going to be trash. Vikings and Bears, Raiders and Falcons. Did anyone think those were going to be good games? We knew it wasn't going to be good. Y'all spent time watching it. I'm not watching those games. Can't wait for him to call out the Ravens like almost every single wide receiver that we've signed. Des Bryant, Deshaun Jackson, Steve Smith, etc. It'd be very funny if they do call him out because at this point he'll be added to the list, and at this point you're going to be like, okay, it's a John Harbaugh thing. But at the same time, people are going to be like, well, those are receivers that yada, yada, yada. It's what it is. This will be the first year he actually play. Yeah, it's first year he's going to play the Steelers twice. Low-key hyped. Haven't had a game of importance like this against the Steelers in quite a long time. Yeah, because it hasn't been a situation where the Ravens and Steelers have been fighting for the division. And it hasn't, like it's been 4 years. 2020, 21, that was really the last of Ben Roethlisberger. They didn't make the playoffs. 2022, that was a mess of a year. Didn't matter. But, by the way, in 2021 and 2022, Lamar got injured. And we were fighting with Cincinnati for the division. 2023, it was a fight. But, again, no one expected anything from the Steelers. This is the first year since 2018 where the Steelers legitimately have a shot to go the distance. I don't think they're going to, but they have a shot. You've got a good quarterback in Russell Wilson. You've got, a decent offense, and you've got an elite defense. So this is the first year they're playing for something significant. And there was the comment I was talking about. Can we get OBJ and get rid of DJ? Guys, let's not do this. I didn't talk about this here. Obviously, I didn't feel the need to talk about this here. Everybody saw it. Odell Beckham Jr. cleared waivers. He was released by the Dolphins. He had to wait until 4 p.m. today to clear waivers. He's cleared waivers. He's officially a free agent. He can sign with whatever team he wants. They talked about him trying to get onto a contender, and there's a few teams on his list. Pretty much teams like the Ravens and the Rams. Those are teams that he's been on. He won a Super Bowl with the Rams. He was with us last year when we got to the AFC Championship game. He's going to want to try to get a contract with one of those two. Guys, I don't care. I'm going to be honest. Odell doesn't move the needle. He does not move the needle. The offense isn't an issue in terms of weapons. He doesn't move the needle. I don't care if Odell's on the team or not in terms of competing. At this point, you bring Odell in, you're just bringing him for vibes. You're just bringing him for vibes. He was here last year. We enjoyed Odell in the moments he was able to provide for us, and he brought the veteran leadership. You're bringing him for vibes because Bateman and Flowers are your 2 top-tier receivers. So Odell's going to be, wide receiver 3? I guess. I mean, it was him and Aguilar going at it last year for wide receiver 3 at times. I don't know what to say. What do you want me to really point out here? What is Odell going to provide to this team? Veteran leadership, vibes? What does he bring to the table? The issues with the Ravens have nothing to do with talent at the receiving corps. You've got the talent. They have enough weapons to go win the Super Bowl. Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry on this team, and Justice Hill is a reliable weapon too. So they don't need offensive weapons. That's not their issue. Their issue is with their offensive line. Their issues with the lack of discipline we see with the penalties. And the issues at times can be play calling and how they're utilizing Derrick Henry. This isn't, and even how they're utilizing some of these guys at times. The play calling being iffy sometimes by Todd Monken, the offensive line being a problem, and the penalties continue to add up. Those are the 3 main issues of the Ravens. That's nothing to do with receiving talent. You don't need Odell on this team. He's not going to move the needle. He's not going to move the needle. So at this point, bringing Odell is just adding a body for vibe because he was here last year and we love Odell. So if you want to bring OBJ in to just bring the vibes in to the team and hope that's going to be enough to bring that extra veteran aspect to help the team go on a Super Bowl run, which, again, I would ask, where was that veteran leadership in the AFC Championship game? But, this is what it is. I don't think you need him. You really don't. There's no need for Odell to be on this team. At this point, you'll just be bringing him here for vibes. And I've already seen fans say we don't need to add him at this point. We really don't. He's not going to change life in Baltimore, and the issues with the team has nothing to do with the receiving talent. They're fine with weapons, so he's not a need. But some of y'all want him for vibes because I guess that's what we're doing. All right, I thought the focus was to just try to lock in to go on a Super Bowl run. But yeah, let's bring Odell in for the vibes because that's going to change everything here. I just don't see a reason to have Odell on the team. Am I against it? I don't care. I don't. Him being on the team versus him not being on the team is not going to change the Ravens' Super Bowl chances. It's not. So if the Ravens want to bring him back for vibes, by all means, it's your choice. He's not going to change the outcome of the team or the outlook of the team. He's not going to change their Super Bowl chances. It's not like, oh, getting Odell is absolutely going to propel them to a Super Bowl run. That's not the case. So if the Ravens want him, they're free to get him, but I don't care what happens. I think Odell's just going to go to the team like he's probably going to go to the Rams. I think he'll go to the Rams. They could use. But then again, do they even need a wide receiver 3? Because at the end of the day, they have Cooper Kupp. They have Puka Nacua. They have DeMarcus Robinson. Would Odell even need... Like I don't know where Odell could go. Pittsburgh's not going to sign him because they need a legitimate receiver that can make that type of impact. And at this stage of his career, Odell is not that guy. Kansas City? You want to have DeAndre Hopkins on one side and Odell on the other side? Does that help? Alongside Juju? I don't know. I don't know if there's a team that's going to want Odell at this point. He did nothing with Miami and he was injured throughout his time there. So does anybody really want Odell? Would he be able to make an impact? Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but I don't think it would really matter for Baltimore. Maybe another team goes against him. I don't know. So, y'all asking for Odell, I'm not really focused on that. Yeah, Ravens told Deontay, don't come back, give us our comp pick in the offseason. Yeah, pretty much. That's just how it is. As much as I hate this dude's attitude, I take him back in Pittsburgh because we desperately need a wide receiver too. Yeah, that's not happening. Bears are so bad, it's not even funny. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. You think he's going to say something about the Ravens? Probably not. Unless, if Deontay is going to say something about the Ravens, it's going to be after he leaves the Ravens. So it'd have to be next season. In the offseason, after he's on a new team, he might say something. I don't know. The Cleveland situation is the main one that is unforgivable for Harbaugh. What else is new? Harbaugh is just a narcissist. Players and former players have been saying they didn't like Harbs, and he's not a good coach. So many of them have came out and told us he's soft. He likes soft players. Hey, man, some people have said he's soft. Former players that have played here said he's soft. Other players say he's tough on them. Marlon Humphrey is backed up John Harbaugh, so who knows what the true story is. I think he's just very strict. I think he's very strict about his authority. He doesn't like players who talk back or tell him when he's wrong, but bro's ego is when he's wrong. But bro's ego is bad. I don't know how people like that, man. He doesn't. People like that, man. He doesn't play his best players. What coach still puts players in the doghouse in 2024? What else is new, man? He's been the coach here for nearly 17 years. He gets to do whatever he wants. He's neighbors with EDC, so he's not getting fired. I want to see more of Tez Walker since all of this with Deontay. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing more Tez Walker, but Tez Walker is not in the plans for this year. Tez Walker is in the plans for next year. They drafted him with the mindset of, we're going to integrate him with next year into this offense. Because the focus was to make sure that Bateman was a primary target in this offense. They knew the talent and capabilities of Rashad Bateman. They wanted to get him involved in this offense. They have plays run specifically for him. So Flowers was going to be Flowers. They needed to make sure Bateman was right there with them. And now that that's the case, they're fine. So Walker wasn't in their plans. Next year, they'll try to integrate Walker as that wide receiver 3. I don't think Nelson Aguilar is going to be on the team next year. I don't think that's going to be the case. That wide receiver spot is fit to try and see what Tez Walker can do. That's just what I think. But at least based on how they've kind of handled it. Unless they get a first-round receiver. If they get another receiver in the draft, that's a different conversation. But it seems like Walker is probably going to be in their conversation for that wide receiver 3 spot moving forward. But in terms of this year, I wouldn't mind him getting more snaps, But I think if you're not going to have Deontay Johnson there, which is going to be the case, then they're going to alternate snaps between Nelson Aguilar and Tylan Wallace, and then they'll occasionally try to get snaps in for Tez Walker. But we'll see. We will see. My story for Deontay Johnson is Bateman gets hurt, Tylan Wallace comes in, Deontay gets mad because he was supposed to be wide receiver 3, but Harbaugh treats him like wide receiver 7. It is what it is. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Winning a ring would easily put LJ in top 10 conversations, guaranteed close to the 5. People not ready. I don't know. maybe be at 5 yet, but I think you would legitimately have conversation for Lamar being top 10 all time. Because, again, he's going to be an all-pro this year. I don't know if he's going to be first-team all-pro. He might be, honestly, I'm be honest, with the way he's played this year, he's probably going to be first-team all-pro. But with the way, if Josh Allen wins the MVP, a lot of times the MVP ends up being first-team all-pro. That's just how they set it up. So I think Josh Allen is probably going to get first-team all-pro. Lamar might get second-team all-pro. So he'll have 2 first-team all-pros, and he'll have a second-team all-pro. If Lamar still gets first-team all-pro and Allen gets MVP, that's going to be very awkward. But I think Lamar is going to be an all-pro. He's obviously going to be another Pro Bowler. So he's going to be an all-pro this year. He's going to be a Pro Bowler. So that's going to add to his list. So he's going to have 3 all-pros. He's going to have, 4 or 5 Pro Bowls. He has 2 MVPs, and then he wins a championship. I would look at the resume of a lot of those guys in the top 10 and see what they have in regards to that. You can make arguments for Lamar to be in top 10 conversations if he wins a championship based on his individual accomplishments. Not to mention, he eclipsed 6,000 yards, so it's just him and Michael Vick. And at some point, he will be passing Michael Vick. He's going to pass Michael Vick in every rushing statistic. Rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, and all that stuff. And it'll take a little bit of time. I think probably take another 2 seasons with the way Lamar's playing. Maybe a season and a half or 2 seasons. But he'll pass Michael Vick in passing yards as well. He's about to pass. He's already passed Michael Vick in passing touchdowns, and his numbers are just so much better than Michael Vick's. The only thing Michael Vick has right now is the rushing yards in totality, career-wise rushing yards, career-wide passing yards because he played like 15 years, and then rushing touchdowns. Lamar within the next 2 seasons is probably going to beat all those records. So by year 9, Lamar's probably going to have surpassed every single aspect Michael Vick ever had numbers-wise, while also having the MVPs, the All-Pros, and the Pro Bowlers. And yet there'll still be people out there trying to say Michael Vick was better than him. Whatever. Kirk Cousins stealing money. Just remember they could have at least made an offer for Lamar. We don't need to bring that up. I don't know why y'all keep bringing that up. Why would I care about the Falcons trying to make an offer for Lamar? I wanted him to stay with the Ravens. He's with the Ravens. I don't care about all the teams that could have made an offer for Lamar. I'm glad they didn't. I didn't want him to go anywhere. And obviously we made the right choice by paying him. Main reason why I believe the Ravens traded for Deontay Johnson was to troll the Steelers for signing Patrick Queen. There's no true reason why they traded for him. That'd be hilarious if that was really the case. And that'd be a waste of time to just do that just because you wanted to troll the Steelers. We need to do a makeover on offensive line. They're not going to do it. And we don't have the worst offensive line. This is the thing that really hurts me, man. This is the thing that hurts me. The O-line is getting trashed for 2 players being terrible. Just like how the defense was getting trashed for 2 guys being awful. Ronnie Stanley is playing like an all-pro left tackle this year. This is the Ronnie Stanley we expected to see before his injury. This is the Ronnie Stanley we expected to see before he suffered that injury that basically ruined 3 years of his career. The all-pro left tackle that we paid, this is it. Ronnie Stanley's playing like an all-pro left tackle. Tyler Linderbaum has been one of the best centers in football since he stepped foot. He's having another great year. Rajan Rosengarten has been really great as a rookie right tackle. Your center's not the issue. Your tackle's not the issues. If you go look at how they have performed in terms of their grades, how they have done in terms of pressure and sacks, they've been great. They've been remarkable. Your issue is not the tackles, nor is it the center. Your issues are with the guards. It's with Patrick McCarry and Daniel Faalele. Those two, McCarry and Faalele are making the entire offensive line look horrible. Because when guys are just getting free release to Lamar and dudes are missing blocks, specifically those 2, guess what happens? Lamar's got to run for his life. And now the offensive line has to suffer as a whole because your 2 guards can't block. How many times have you watched these games where Lamar just dropped into the pocket and it's not guys coming off the edge, it's guys coming in from the interior? It's not the tackles, it's not the center. It is your guards. The offensive line isn't one of the worst in the league because of the tackles. And also the penalties. Guess where the penalties are primarily coming from? Your guards. Guess who's the most penalized left guard in the National Football League? Patrick McCarry. It is your guards that are making this offensive line look this bad. How many times have you seen defenders beat guys off the edges this year? All the pressure that's, in terms of these sacks and guys getting to Lamar, it's coming from the interior part of the offensive line. Guys are not getting past the edges. Guys are not beating Ronnie Stanley off the edge. They're not beating Rosengarten off the edge. It's all interior pressure because your guards can't block. They either can't block, or they miss a block, or you get moments where Falele is trying to... I will not forget. Look at the Giants game. There is a play where Falele is trying to pull the defensive tackle in a pass protection situation. We're throwing the football, and he's trying to pull the defensive tackle as if he's preparing to block for the run. Why is he run blocking in a pass game? Falele has been inconsistent all season. Makari has been inconsistent all season. He's been one of the, if not the most penalized left guard in the National Football League. Falele, every week on film, people find new ways to laugh at how bad he is. Your guards are making everybody else look bad. Ronnie Stanley's playing like an all-pro left tackle. Roger Rosengarten's having one of the best rookie seasons you can have, especially as a right tackle. Tyler Linderbaum is been one of the best centers in the National Football League since he stepped foot into this league. You've got 3 of your 5 offensive linemen that are doing their job. Your guards are the problem. And every time Lamar is getting blitzed or pressured, it's because of the interior, because your guards aren't blocking. So I want to say, we cannot say this is one of the worst offensive lines. It's one of the worst offensive guard play we've seen. But I'm not going to let these 2 horrible guards, or these 2 inconsistent guards, take away from your tackles and your center doing their job for a majority of the season. Because Ronnie Stanley, the only thing we could say about Stanley this year was some of the penalties that have happened. But he hasn't been committing penalties like that, not compared to Makari. Rosengarten's been great. Linderbaum's one of the best in the league. It's the guards that are looking horrible. So I think if the Ravens just invest in guard play in the draft, you get a left guard, you get a right guard, and they can play well, there's no problem with the offensive line moving forward. So yeah, let's not pretend that it's the tackles. How come Lamar always has to run? Because he can't stand in the pocket. Think about this, Zach. If the pressure was coming from the edges, where's Lamar going to run to? If the pressures is coming from the edges, where's Lamar going to run to? Because guess what? If they're getting pressure off the edges, they're going to box Lamar in and he's going to get sacked. But Lamar's able to run out of the pocket. Why? Because the pressure's coming from the interior offensive line. They're breaking through the middle of the line because the guards aren't blocking. So as soon as they run up the middle, Lamar has to run towards the left or run towards the right. If they're beating, I'm telling you, if Ronnie Stanley and Roger Rosengarten were getting beat off the edges, Lamar would have nowhere to run. We've seen this in previous years when Ronnie Stanley couldn't block. When he was getting beat off the edge, Lamar had nowhere to run and he was getting sacked a lot more than he needed to. But because the pressure's coming from the interior offensive line, Lamar's seen that and he has time to run. And the edges are secured so he can break out of the pocket. He can roll to his right, he can roll to his left. Because the pressure's not coming from the edges. It's coming from the interior line. It's coming from the middle of the offensive line. Because the guards can't block, they're coming up the middle so Lamar can roll to his right or he can roll to his left. That's just how it is. If the edges were getting beat, Lamar would be getting sacked a lot more. He can't go anywhere. If the edges are getting beat, they're going to contain him. The only place he would be able to go, if it was the edges and not the middle of the field, Lamar would have to be breaking through the offensive line to take off straight. But Lamar is literally rolling to his right and rolling to his left in a lot of these plays. The touchdown pass to Rashad Bateman was literally him rolling to his right. The play to Tez Walker, it was set up to him slowly moving towards his right. A lot of the pressure is coming from inside. If it was from the edges, Lamar would be getting cooked. He would have a lot more sacks. He would have a lot more sacks on the season if it was coming from the edges. It's coming from the interior offensive line. So yeah, the tackles are doing their job and your center's doing their job, but your guards are not. And like, if your guards are not, and they're able to break through the middle of the field, the quarterback is literally standing in the middle of the field. He's standing in the pocket. The pocket is in the interior offensive line. So if they can't block, your quarterback has to run for his life. So I think the Ravens should really heavily invest on offensive linemen in the draft. Get yourself a left guard, get yourself a right guard, and tool up this offensive line. And from that point on, you'll be good to go. They're not going to be perfect. Obviously, sacks are still going to happen because there's blitzes, and even if all 5 guys are doing their job, if there's 6 guys coming through, and let's say the running back forgets to chip or doesn't make a block, sacks are going to happen. But if you have a damn good offensive line, you're going to be fine. Not to mention, they're not going to be able to hold them off for 6 seconds. But you would have all these issues you have with the O-line will go away if they can get themselves a left guard and a right guard. But that's just That's just how it is, man. All they need is to fix the guard play. The tackles are fine. The center's fine. Just get a left guard and a right guard. Secure that aspect. Your offensive line's going to be good. They expected Deontay to be wide receiver 3. It just hasn't worked out. They haven't integrated him with the offense at all. It is what it is, man. I'm so serious. This team is either a first-round exit or they're going to the Super Bowl. I've already said it. Either they're going all the way to the Super Bowl and winning this thing, or they're going to be a first-round exit. It doesn't seem like there's any in-between with the Ravens, man. It does not. It does not. Either they go win this whole damn tournament, or they get blown out, or they get beat badly in the first round. I don't know what it's going to be. Washington fan here, just checking in on someone else's stream for a change. What's going on, Bruce? Commanders, I think Commanders maybe need 2 more games. I was hoping 10 wins would be enough to get a wild card spot for Washington, but I think we're going to need at least 2 more wins. I think if the Commanders can get to 11 wins on the season, they're going to be a playoff team. The Rams right now scare me. That's the problem. The Rams scare me, but they are first place in the division. We'll see what happens with Seattle, though. But I think Washington needs 2 more wins to secure a playoff spot. Hopefully that'll be the case. Doesn't matter. It's the most. This is the first time Washington's had a winning season since 2016. So we enjoy it. We bask in it. Jaden Daniels, Rookie of the Year. I think he's doing a good job solidifying that. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I'm not going to lie. The Commanders have already exceeded expectations. Washington does not need to go to the playoffs and win. Now, I don't want them to just go one and done. I hope the Washington Commanders go in and pull off the upset, because they'll be in the first round. They're going to be the 7 seed. The 2 seed is going to be Detroit. With the way the injuries are happening, it's going to be Detroit. The Commanders going into Detroit against an injury-riddled defense, they can catch them off guard. And if Detroit wins, if Washington can pull off the upset in the wild card round and beat the Detroit Lions, that will set them up for a grudge match in the divisional round against the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll be a first-round bye against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I want a chance to go to Philly again to see if we can get to the NFC Championship game. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, year 1 was a success. Everyone needs to understand this is year 1 of a rebuild. This is post-Snyder. It's post-Snyder. It's post-Ron Rivera. You got Ron Rivera out of here. All the guys from that Snyder era, gone. Ron Rivera, gone. All the players he drafted, gone. This is an entirely new team. This is legitimately year 1 of a rebuild with this new rookie quarterback. Nobody expected them to be this good. Making the playoffs is already exceeding expectations. You understand they still have to draft pieces for the defense, right? The defense is their biggest weakness. This was supposed to be a 3-year plan to do something similar to what the Texans did to try to slowly build yourself back up. In year 1, they're going to make the playoffs. So if they handle the draft right, you draft corners. You draft corners, because if you invest in the defense of your Washington, invest in the defense, invest in the secondary, you draft that and you solidify the defense, next year they can win this division. They can win this division. And at that point, they will be one of those teams that can consistently make the playoffs as long as Jaden Daniels is here. So year 1, they've already exceeded expectations. No matter what they do in the playoffs, assuming they do get there, they've already exceeded expectations. They were not supposed to be this good this early in year 1. They've already exceeded expectations. So we'll see where they go from here. Mark Andrews having a quietly underrated season this year. He's just showcasing why he's one of the best tight ends in football. And it took him a while to get back into form, but he suffered a season-ending injury last year and then had a car accident before the season started. So it took time. It took time. Might as well go out there and play guard. Good luck with that. What's going on, Andrew? If we win, where would you rank Lamar and he gets another MVP? If we win a Super Bowl, Lamar would be in top 10 conversations. And if he gets another MVP, he'd be closer to top 5. It depends on how your top 5's looking like. I can't put Lamar over Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers is actually close to that top 5. He might be 6. Aaron Rodgers might be 6th in that aspect. I'm really trying to think. Because obviously you're going to have a Brady, you're going to have a Mahomes, you're going to have a Peyton Manning, you're going to have a Joe Montana. And then you go to top conversations at that point where you do have to look at, obviously you're going to have an Aaron Rodgers in that conversation, you're going to have a Brett Favre in that conversation, you're going to have a John Elway in that conversation, Steve Young's in that conversation. Yeah, it's going to be, you'll be in the top 10, but Lamar will probably be closer to the end of the top 10. And if he gets a 3rd MVP with a championship, he'd probably be around 7. Like, you could really make arguments around that. But He has to win a ring. It's not just about the MVP. The Vic being better than Lamar discussion should have ended in 2019. People still arguing this in the good old 2024 don't know ball for real. It is what it is. It was always going to be a conversation, and people still argue that just because Vic had he had endless talent. The amount of talent that dude had, if he would have just zoned in, focused in, Michael Vick with his talent and capability, if he would have just focused in on training and improving as a passer and locking in and improving his game every single year, Michael Vick would have been a difference maker. And obviously, the whole situation with him going to jail because of the dog situation. If that doesn't happen, we don't know how Michael Vick's career would have gone. If he would have just locked in and not done the dumb things he did and just really focused on his game, the sky was the limit for that guy. That's why people still fantasize about what Vick could have been. Even though when you look at it, Vick is not what you... Again, Vick isn't... I grew up with Michael Vick. I grew up watching, I didn't grow up with Michael Vick, but I grew up watching Michael Vick, one of the first players I watched in the league, which is why drafting someone like Lamar Jackson, I loved it because I enjoyed watching Michael Vick. But the way people like to fantasize about Michael Vick's career as opposed to how it happened is crazy. People still live off of the endless amount of potential the man had as opposed to focusing on what he did. People don't talk about this. Michael Vick, in a 15-year career, won one playoff game. He's 1-2 in the postseason. He got to an NFC title game, give him credit, but he's 1-2 in the postseason. Michael Vick has never had a season where he's thrown for 25-plus touchdowns. I think the best he's had was 2010 when he threw like 22 touchdowns. If you look at his completion percentage, it's never been... I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this right now with Michael Vick. I'm not going to take away from his career. But again, if you dig deep into it, the way people like to hype up Michael Vick, man, a lot of it just has to... a lot of it just depend... It not even depend. A lot of it is just leaning on the endless amount of talent he had and the Michael Vick experience. But if you actually go look at his production and all the stuff he did and his accomplishments, it's not what you make it out to be, okay? It's not like it was it's close to being an Allen Iverson situation because Michael Vick did change the game, but Allen Iverson at least won an MVP and took his team to the finals. So it's a different conversation, but I'm not going to take away from Michael Vick. I'm not going to do it in this. I'm just not going to do that. If you want to go look at it, you can, but again, a lot of times people that talk about Michael Vick and saying he's better than Lamar Jackson, they're just looking at the endless amount of potential because this guy had one of the strongest arms we've ever seen. This dude can throw the ball, man. He could throw it 60-plus yards. Some of the greatest throws we've ever seen in this game came from Michael Vick. That throw to Deshaun Jackson in the Monday Night Massacre on the opening drive for 88 yards, that was one of the craziest throws, man. This guy had a hell of an arm. And I think a lot of people are still fascinated with the talent of Michael Vick because he could sling it with the best. And he could run the football like nobody else can. So that amount of talent is still stuck into people's minds that live off of nostalgia. And because of that, they can't get over that nostalgia, so they will always hold on to it. Lamar can win all the MVPs he wants. He can do whatever he's doing. Lamar's had multiple seasons that's been better than Michael Vick's. It doesn't matter. The amount of talent Michael Vick had will always be in people's minds, and they're not going to change their approach because of that. They will always say Michael Vick is better just because of the endless amount of talent. Not to mention what he could have been if he would have just locked in, because he was just doing it off of pure talent. If he locked in and worked on his game, we don't know what Michael Vick could have became. So that's the aspect of people that still hold on to that potential and talent. But if you look at what he actually did in the league, you comparing him to Lamar is it's just not a good look, I ain't gonna lie. It's not a good look. But it is what it is. We have the worst guard duo in the league. Yeah. Lindy only looks worse because he has to help those bum guards. Bro, he looks worse because he has to help them, and he's still one of the best centers in football. I don't know what to tell you. Like, his grade's still relatively high, despite having to help the guards. Lamar makes the O-line look elite or top 5 in the league. Yeah, if you would fix the guard problem, he wouldn't have to make them look elite. I'm telling you, man, because the tackles, they're doing their jobs, and the center's doing their jobs. If you can fix the left and right guard position, Lamar does not need to make the O-line look elite. They would be elite. Falele stinks. The experiment should have ended in week 3. They're just not going to do that, bro. They're just not going to do that. They're so stuck with that. They're so stuck with them. They're just not going to put them down. They're just stuck with them. So I don't wonder if Cleveland is this bad or is John this stubborn to change the lineup. It could be both. It could very well be both. Who knows? That's why I'm hoping Watt doesn't play. Not saying I want him hurt, but just take this week off, please. He'll probably still play. Yeah, we miss Zeitler, and now he's on that Lions team that's getting decimated with injuries. It's unfortunate. Oh, yeah, I know you're happy JD and LJ lead in Pro Bowl votes. I tweeted about that, too. Brings tears to my eyes. I never thought growing up, watching these two teams, first of all, you got to understand, man, if you've been a Ravens fan prior to '08, you weren't sure what this was going to be, man. I mean, Baltimore didn't have an established quarterback until Flacco, okay? The best we had was '06 with that McNair year where we got we didn't get the number C, but we got into the playoffs and got upsetted. But we did not have consistent quarterback play in Joe Flacco. And then if you looked at Washington's situation, the quarterback play was even worse. So I never thought I would ever see a situation where the Ravens would have a Pro Bowl quarterback and then the Commanders would also have a Pro Bowl quarterback too. I never thought I would ever see this situation. And funny enough, even with Flacco being there, Flacco was never really a Pro Bowl quarterback. So I never thought Baltimore and Washington would have Pro Bowl quarterbacks. But it's happening. We have Pro Bowl quarterbacks and both teams are going to make the playoffs. Just never thought I'd see the day, man. I'm still hoping for that magic to happen. One of these days, man, if I ever get that dream of having Washington and Baltimore in the Super Bowl, it'd be something different. It'd be something different. Josh Allen might be on top for MVP after his performance on Sunday. Yeah, he's the MVP right now. I don't care about MVP conversations, but Josh Allen's the MVP. If we're talking about who's been the best quarterback in football, it's either, from a statistical standpoint, it's Lamar and Burrow. It's either Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, but if we're talking about who's been the best quarterback from a statistical standpoint and overall performance, just from the numbers, Lamar Jackson's been the best quarterback in football, or Joe Burrow's been the best quarterback in football. Take your pick. But the MVP is not about who's been the best quarterback or who is the best quarterback. It's about it's about a series of things. You have to have great numbers, who performs in the biggest moments, your signature wins. I've talked about this. This is what Josh Allen fans and Buffalo fans don't seem to understand. I've explained the MVP. It's not just about the numbers. It's not just about statistics. You got to have good numbers, but what also matters is your record, the strength of wins, the quality of wins, and the defining moments your MVP candidate has. At the end of the day, Josh Allen doesn't have the numbers Lamar Jackson has, but what does he do? What does he have? He's got a better team record than Lamar Jackson. He's got the defining moments. It's hard for me to say he's got more quality wins because Lamar has more wins against teams above 500 than Josh Allen, but which is another case where you can give it to Lamar, saying he has the numbers and he has more wins against teams over 500, including the win he got against Josh Allen himself. But Josh Allen's case has to be the fact that his team has a better record, mostly due to him, and then he has defining moments. He beat the two number one seeds in each conference. Beating the undefeated Chiefs and then beating the number one seeded Detroit Lions, those are MVP moments. I said it when he beat the Lions, even though it wasn't quite the same because his defense is awful. There's nothing you can do about that. I sat back and said, Josh Allen going on the road and beating the number one seeded Detroit team is the same thing as Lamar Jackson going on the road on Christmas and beating the number one seeded Niners. That is an MVP type moment. We saw him on national television beat the Chiefs. We saw him on national television beat the Lions. These are MVP moments. You have to have good statistics. You don't have to have the best statistics, but you do need to have good statistics. Josh Allen has that. In fact, him and Lamar are tied for total touchdowns because he has 11 rushing touchdowns. Take away from it however you want. Those touchdowns do count on the stat sheet. So he has the production. He has the MVP moments. He beat the Chiefs. He beat the Lions. That helps his case. That puts him in the league. At the end of the day, Lamar lost to Pittsburgh and then lost to Philadelphia. You can say it's not his fault, yada, 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 whatever, but he lost to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. That hurts his case a little bit. But the race is not completely over because what you have to understand is you can have those defining moments, but you have to finish it off. Josh Allen just needs to have two good games. A good game this upcoming week against the Patriots and a good game next week against the Jets. If he has good games in both of those and they win, Josh Allen's winning the MVP. No doubt. That's it. He just needs to play two good games and win against divisional rivals, and it's over. If he stumbles against the Patriots and Jets, and then Baltimore crushes the Steelers and the Texans while Lamar balls out, the MVP race goes to hell. And now Lamar has a case to actually take it away from Josh Allen because Josh Allen just stumbled and lost two games. Meanwhile, Lamar will be winning two games, and now their record's about the same. And that would be a horrible case for Josh Allen's MVP stock. So he has to finish this off. 3 weeks left to go. He has to finish this off. That's just how it has to be. Lamar over Big Ben. It becomes an interesting aspect because how do you rank Big Ben? Do you look at Big Ben as a top 10 quarterback all time? This is where things become very interesting because Big Ben's won multiple championships. But because the accolades aren't there, Big Ben might be one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time. But at the same time, people look at it and say, of those 2 championships, he's really the only one you can look at that was really him was 08. 05, he was carried by the defense, and he didn't have a single defining moment for the most part that you looked at. His defense is the reason they won against Seattle in the Super Bowl in 2005. But 08, he had his defining moment, the game-winning drive to Santonio Holmes back at the end zone, defining moment to get your Super Bowl. I think it's because Big Ben never won any individual accolades. He played in the worst possible era for him to get accolades. He was competing with Brady and Manning. There was no way he was going to get MVPs. And then Aaron Rodgers coming out of nowhere. Aaron Rodgers winning MVPs. And then Aaron Rodgers beats Ben in the Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger is going to go down as one of the most underrated quarterbacks to play the game. He's not going to be ranked high. Like, he's not top 10 all time. Nobody talks about Big Ben being ranked top 10 all time. Nobody talks about that. Aaron Rodgers is ranked higher than Big Ben, and Big Ben's got 2 rings, whereas Aaron Rodgers has 1. And A-Rod beat Big Ben in the Super Bowl. So again, I don't know how Ben Roethlisberger is judged. I don't know where he's ranked all time. Because he won 2 championships. But because he never won an MVP, matter of fact, I'm going to pull up Big Ben's accomplishments right now.